Hey, and welcome to this Freaky Friday edition of Liquid Lunch on NEWSMAX TV. I'm John TABACCO. We're coming to you today live, believe it or not, from the downtown NEWSMAX studios. We're in the Question Tequila studio, as we are every day, Monday to Friday, live from noon to 2. I literally, as you may have noticed, was in Florida just a day and a half ago, and just got back, flew right here, just stepped into this seat, and I am tired. But we're gonna fire it up for a Freaky Friday today, that's for sure. Downtown at the New York Stock Exchange, market's getting slapped around just a little bit. There's some confusion on the ceasefire that happened out there. There's a ceasefire, but only in the border towns. Little uncertainty going into Friday. Monday and Tuesday, there's more observation of Jewish holidays, so the markets will probably be thin through Wednesday next week. So the Friday before a long weekend is usually thin, so we'll see how the day pans out. Keep you updated on that. Bitcoin is down 150, did dip just below 8,000 again. I think that's a buying area. I personally picked up a little more Bitcoin this morning, and I think it could bounce here, or it can go all the way to zero, as I've mentioned to you many times. Don't listen to me. I'm just telling you what I did, and what I do best every single day is bringing this guy right here, Frank Morano.
Oh, yes, that is for
co-host.
Sure.
How are you today?
It's good to see you again.
And the chair that we asked not to be in the show.
Well, you know, there was some confusion.
Also.
There was some confusion about whether or not the chair was going to be in our show.
It was a hectic morning.
Yes,
and
exactly.
I contributed most to the hectic morning because I didn't get here till 1 minute before the show time.
As you often do, yes.
I'm working harder, like, off this show than I am on the show. This is the easy part when I get here.
I can't imagine. I can't imagine you'd be working less hard. That's for sure.
That's right.
All right, John. There is a. I thought maybe the reason you were running so late this morning is you might have been at the Al Smith dinner yesterday, which is always a gala affair. Politicians and business leaders and church leaders—they're all there. And yesterday, the star attraction was General Mattis, Mad Dog Mattis, who you might remember was our Secretary of Defense, and who just 2 days ago President Trump referred to as one of the most overrated generals that there are.
That was poor.
Well, look, maybe he is a little overrated.
I don't. You know, you can't pump the guy up like he's the best guy. Mad Dog. That's my guy right there. And then later say, well, he's not one of the best, and that means
that's
you
one
should have known that in the first place.
That does bug me about Trump a little bit. He did the same thing with Jefferson Beauregard Sessions III. He did the same thing with Jay Powell.
Look at me, look at me. You know, right? I'm for this guy.
Yeah.
As he governs our country.
Me too.
Like a maniac. But the economic policies he's put in place, the regulatory policies he's put in place, access to health care, things that he's done are amazing for our country, employment, jobs, all this other stuff. Mattis is an American hero. And in my view, as much as I waved the Trump pen and we're trying to go with let's lay off our generals.
Okay.
That's how I feel.
All right, well,
you don't agree. You said maybe he's not that good.
Well, no, you know what it is, and we can get into this throughout the show, is there has been a failed foreign policy that both parties and the Pentagon have embraced for the better part of the last 35 years. And General Mattis is a holder to that conventional wisdom, which I don't think has worked out well in Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, or any of these other places. But the guy is legitimately a warrior and a scholar, and he promotes reading, which I like. He also, as we learned last night at the Al Smith dinner, is quite funny. When he was informed that President Trump called him one of the most overrated generals, this is what General Mattis had to say in response.
Some of you were kind during the reception and asked me, if this bothered me to have been rated this way based on what Donald Trump said. I said, of course not. I'd earned my spurs on the battlefield, Martin, as you pointed out, and Donald Trump earned his spurs in a letter from a doctor. So.
And he also then compared himself to Meryl Streep. He said he's the Meryl Streep of generals.
I get it. It's you know what, Mattis, he handled it, to me, politely.
All right. Now, the big controversy of the day.
Hang on one second.
Yes.
The big controversy of the day is whatever both of us were thinking when we got dressed this morning. That's the big controversy of today, because I raced here. I barely had enough clothes with me to get here. I'm like, I look like a test pattern. And then I look over at this guy on the monitor, and Rose, could you go to the... People may be adjusting their TVs at home right now.
It's called color TV for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Sorry,
people
I
have
was just
to deal.
looking at the monitor.
You try to stand out. That's our goal. All right. The big controversy of the day, John, has to do with this. I think you could only describe it as bizarre press briefing that Mick Mulvaney did yesterday. We talked about it a little live as it was happening when you were in Florida about the decision for Donald Trump to have the G7 summit at a Trump property in Miami. We're going to get into that a little bit later. But one area that has generated a lot of controversy, and Mulvaney has actually, I think, backed off this a little bit, is where he was talking about the quid pro quo, holding up the Ukrainian aid until they investigated some corruption surrounding Hunter Biden. This is what Mulvaney said yesterday, which seemed to get him in such hot water.
To be clear, what you just described is a quid pro quo. It is funding will not flow unless the investigation into the Democratic server happened as well.
We do that all the time with foreign policy. We were holding up money at the same time for the Northern Triangle countries. We were holding up aid at the Northern Triangle countries so that they would change their policies on immigration.
So what do you think, John? I mean, in some ways, I think he's just putting voice to what we've always known was the case. But does this what do you mean?
Come on already. They got to dissect every word. This is what presidents do. Hey, I need you to do this for me, and then I can do that for you, and that's why we're allies, and we're partners, and we're friends. That's how people make deals. I don't understand. He didn't say, psst, psst, let's go after Joe Biden, because I'm afraid he's going to run against me. He didn't do that. Afraid of Biden. That's the thing. Why would he want to knock Joe Biden out of the race? He's the easiest guy for him to beat.
Well, I tend to agree with you, but the conventional wisdom's been that is also not buying Biden being a threat seems to be Donald Trump. He was in Dallas yesterday doing a rally, and he called out Joe Biden and his son. Let's take a look at what happened yesterday in the Lone Star State. Here's Donald Trump at his rally in Dallas.
Just look at the terrible foreign corruption of the Bidens. His son walked out with $1.5 billion from China. These were not the same Chinese people I just dealt with, I will tell you that. But Joe Biden was in charge of Ukraine policy while his son, with absolutely no energy experience, just got thrown out of the Navy like a dog, was paid massive sums of money by a Ukrainian energy company. You know what that's called? It's called a payoff, folks.
Now, why is it thrown out of the Navy like a dog? I don't understand.
So funny.
Why do dogs not get to serve in the Navy, but do they serve in the Air Force? Why is that? I felt like that was an unnecessary shot at dogs.
You want to know something? One shot, Kyle, go in. Look what I wrote down. This is why we're great partners. Look at my notes as we were watching that. Can you read that? Can they see that?
Let me see.
Oh, there it is. You see what I wrote down? Like a dog.
Like a dog. See, we're on the same page.
That whole clip.
Yeah.
Right. This is why we're great partners. We think alike. He always has to throw in like that one extra jab that's unnecessary.
Exactly.
Like a dog. You know what I mean? That's an insult to Rosie. You know what I mean? He already said Rosie's a dog. But no, and then like even in the letter to Erdogan, he writes this whole letter, you'll be a hero in history and you'll be a devil.
Don't be a tough guy. Don't be a fool.
A tough guy, period. And then he has to put don't be a fool. I'll call you later. That's the only thing that gets me. But he's going after him because if his son got a job with no experience on the board of a Russian energy company right now, and he was getting paid $50,000 a month, they'd have a lynch mob out for him.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
Before we go to break, and I'm excited, we have the author of Solutionomics, Chris Mackey, joining us in a moment. And how do you like we have this new whiteboard here?
Amazing.
It's a little smaller than what I pictured, but it does, and it also.
Sarah, can you toss that over here to Frankie? Frank has been asking the crew. We started this show, in case you just started watching, we're newbies. We started this show on May 13th, my brother Derek's birthday. I'll always remember that day. And since then, Frank has been asking that we have a whiteboard.
Literally every day.
In the studio, every day before we go on, he'll say, Hey, we still haven't got that whiteboard,
Well, so
have we?
I think it would be helpful for everybody to be able to look to, because we've had instances of very, very accomplished guests being called the wrong name. We've had instances of people not knowing who's on next. So I thought it would be nice to have a list on here of which guests were coming on, whether they were here or not, whether they were mic'd or not. And then this way, if you're not sure whether to call Jim John, you, can just look up and say, oh, it's Jim, not John. But instead, we've learned that Rose is here.
Ta-da!
Which is nice.
Which is usually a good day for
Yes.
all.
Thank
like
you.
the rest of our team, they're here, they're working hard,
Absolutely.
like they do every day. From just about noon to just about 2, they're working hard. Other times they're shooting hoops, taking naps, having birthday cake.
We still have some of that ice cream cake.
Question tequila because
That's,
we have a huge reserve here. If you tuned in for just the news of the day, you're watching the wrong show. But Frankie finally got his way, and not only is he the
But
co-host,
it's a small whiteboard.
it's a whiteboard. Okay,
Small whiteboard.
Let's celebrate baby steps.
Right.
You know what I mean, rather than lament the past. But we're making progress in so many areas, and Solutionomics. We had Chris Mackey on just a few weeks ago, and he was making some really good observations on trade and tariffs and stuff. And that, to me, is what's driving the market right here. Many people are saying in the market, if we get a positive outcome, if it turns out to really happen, at least phase 1 of this trade deal, the market's on a rocket. And you know me, I've been calling for stable geopolitical with a China deal. I'm looking for 30,000 on the Dow. Don't take any financial advice from me, but Chris Mackey, I think, is...
Oh, yeah. No, he's actually got a lot of solutions that are
you can listen to his
refreshingly nonpartisan. It's not all right-wing, not all left-wing. And we also, of course, want to wish a very happy birthday to Football Hall of Famer Mike Ditka, 80 years old.
Let's ring the bell for Mike Ditka.
Absolutely.
One of the greatest of all time.
The Bears.
Beast of a tight end, beast of a coach. I loved the Bears. Remember when the Bears went to the Super Bowl and they had William the Refrigerator Perry?
1986.
Oh, man.
1986,
McMahon, what
yeah.
a team that was. Wow, awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, we'll take you back. We'll take you way back. It's going to be a flashback, Freaky Friday. And you're watching Liquid Lunch. We're going to be back in just a couple minutes with Chris Mackey.